an economist with Edelweiss team, and I'm really glad to introduce to you the first episode in the series, The Calm Allocator. For an investor in the current volatile markets and otherwise, there are always way too many noises. In this series, we will aim to extract the right voice from the cumbersome noises. We shall try to be a fox in the world of market hedgehogs. So just a few days back, our debt mutual fund froze its schemes. What that created was an overload of noises, questioning, is debt really the safe haven? I mean, fixed income mein fixed kya hai? Now for portfolio enthusiasts, this is a very difficult situation. In fact, if we look at macro numbers, we did see debt mutual funds facing significant redemption pressure. Was it all justified? Or was it just panic that could have been abated by a calmer thinking? To give us deeper insights on this, we have with us today Head of Edelweiss Wealth Management, Anshu Kapoor, and has almost 20 years of experience in private banking, international financial markets, and consumer banking across a variety of firms. But on a very personal note, he is also one of the most calm minds around. So Anshu, welcome. Hope you are doing well. And let's see from you what you are hearing from fixed income investors and what do you make of the disruptions in the fixed income markets?
Thank you, Ankita, and thank you for leading this series. Thank you for kicking off the series. This is personally very important to me, and it is also very, very important from an Edelweiss perspective that we bring the right information to our investors and help them make the right choices. It's not been easy the last couple of years in all markets, all asset classes. And coincidentally, as we speak, today the cyclone is hitting Mumbai.
True.
And there has been a storm, metaphorically speaking, that has been brewing in the fixed income markets. And that is the topic that we thought we'll discuss today. So by this conversation on fixed income, and you said fixed make fixed kya hai? And I must tell you, over the last 3-4 weeks, since the upheavals kind of became more accentuated in the markets, personally, I have been receiving continuous calls from clients, from family, from friends, and everyone has some or the other pain point. And a lot of that is driven by the maybe not the right choices that they made when they decided to invest in those. And there's a huge understanding gap. Let me just start by maybe if you were to come to me and say, listen, I've got some money, I want to invest in a fixed income mutual fund. Help me, please. Where should I invest? And if I were to turn back to you and say, hey, Ankita, no problem. Why don't you select from overnight funds, short duration funds, medium duration funds, credit funds, gilt funds, and corporate bond funds? Which one would you like? And for an average investor, that is extremely confusing to be able to discern which product or which scheme is right for them. And our attempt is to be able to bridge this understanding gap, give investors the right information so they can make the decisions accordingly. That's a simple philosophy we have behind this conversation, and I hope we do justice to that.
Hopefully, Anshu. As you said, you have a lot of friends and family who are worried. I have been hearing a lot of pain too. I think, as rightly pointed, there are a lot of information asymmetries that exist when we talk in terms of financial world and when we talk to the investors who are trying to put in the money. So I'll start with a basic question on debt fund where people misconstrued fixed income as probably something similar to fixed deposits with bank. So your thoughts, how do you bring about the differences between them?
Yeah, true, and absolutely rightly said. That's a good place to start. And what has happened is that most investors thought that they were investing in a bank deposit-like product. But what ended up happening was they either got locked in for a longer tenor that they thought, or the returns were volatile, or they even lost money. So this is something that they did not anticipate. And just to demystify, just to very simply state, bank deposit comes with a fixed return of interest. It comes with committed cash flows. None of the fixed income funds can commit a return, and there could be variance as far as the committed cash flows are concerned. So there's no, depending on the scheme features, you may be able to exit or not able to exit. When you open a bank deposit, you do not pay any fee. There is an expense ratio the fund charges for you to manage their money. When you invest in a bank deposit, you take risk on a particular bank. When you invest in a fixed income mutual fund, you are taking risk on the securities that the fund is investing. You're taking a call on the quality or the ability of the fund manager to manage your portfolio, right? So there's a person also behind this whole portfolio management. Your tax treatment is different, right? Bank deposits, the returns are taxed at your slab rate. But whereas in a fixed income mutual fund, you have the benefit beyond 3 years to claim long-term capital gains with 20% indexation, right? So it is not so simple. It is a little bit more complex from a decision-making point of view. And just to give you data, bank deposits in India total is about 120 trillion rupees. Fixed income funds are about 13 trillion rupees. So, you can clearly see the investor preference for simplicity rather than, getting into more complicated options.
So you rightly bring about that in fixed deposits that your money is parked safe more or less and you're not taking any risk on the principal. In fixed income, you are taking a calibrated call. It might be lesser than higher risk investments in direct equity and commodities or otherwise. Nevertheless, there is a calibrated call that you've taken. So you should consider that in mind. Okay, so now that we have reiterated the differences between fixed income and fixed deposits, what are the instruments I can choose to invest in if I was trying to invest in fixed income? So how do you think should one take a call, and what is the spectrum of instruments that are available for me to invest in?
So Ankita, there are 16 categories. The regulator, SEBI, has defined 16 categories for investors to choose from. And beyond that, there is a regular plan and a direct plan. There is a dividend option and the growth option. Each category could have, or within each category, each scheme could have different expense ratios. The lock-in or the exit loads could vary. So it's a matrix, right? And for the purpose of simplicity, let's say that, we will peel the onion as we go along. But the simplest of the fixed income mutual fund will start from a liquid fund to an overnight category, where the risk you are taking is on overnight investments or a 24-hour investments, maybe in overnight funds. Going to long duration, which may come with a 7-year kind of a maturity, or going into gilt funds that invest in Government of India securities. So there are a lot of choices that people have to make. It's not easy, and as I said, that we will peel the onion as we go along.
Thank you, Anshu. That helps. So basically, there are instruments to invest in. There are different tenors. There are different risks. There are different expense ratios. There are different issuers. So debt or investments in fixed income looks like a permutation combination of these instruments. So very recently, a renowned firm, as we call it, froze its scheme. That created a lot of market panic. So what, in your view, were the exact dynamics of what happened? And what is the most probable answer to the investor worry? Will I ever get my money back?
Right. Yeah. So I think to answer this question in a very simple manner, let me give you a little bit of a backstory. And the storm that I spoke of in fixed income actually has been brewing in the country for about 18 months now. And it has not gotten easier for the industry participants or the investors anyhow. So as you understand that when you invest in a bank deposit, the bank takes your money and makes loans. And at the end of the tenor, you get your money back. When a mutual fund manager or fixed income manager takes your money, the fund will invest in corporate bonds or securities that are then used by the corporates that had issued those securities for running their business maybe. So it's a very simplistic version. And over the last couple of years, mutual funds have become fairly prominent source of providers to corporate India for them to meet their borrowing, right? So it was as long as the liquidity in the system was there, it has been a great source of capital. And because corporates were willing to pay a little bit a higher rate of interest, the investor said, okay, I'm getting a little bit more than a bank deposit. Let me come in and invest. So overall, as a category, it grew to about, let's say 7 lakh crore rupees or 7 trillion rupees by January, right? And what happens is that the situation changed from 2018 onwards when we had the ILFS fiasco. What happened was there came in risk aversion. As in, the investor said, listen, I don't know if my money is safe. Can I take some of my money out? And the fund manager said, I do not understand, who is safe and who is not safe. So I will also maybe reduce the loans that I make out or the securities that I buy, and I will be very, very selective. So it kind of led to some parts of the market not getting the right amount of liquidity, right? And all these things would keep rolling over as the maturities came. It would roll over. So the rollovers stopped. The situation actually further worsened after the COVID aftermath because investors wanted to liquidate, they wanted to move to cash, they wanted to move to safety. When they went to exit, the fund managers sold the most liquid securities or investments they were holding, which left behind a big chunk of investments that became illiquid. Even the higher quality investment that they were trying to sell because of oversupply and less demand, the prices got distorted. And therefore, in many schemes, investors for the first time, or maybe they've never experienced this, they saw their net asset value or NAVs fall below the principal amount, right? So all of this has happened fairly quickly. And finally, let's say you and I are two investors in a fund and the fund is 100 rupees. I take my 50 rupees out. The fund will sell what is most liquid.
True.
And you, Ankita, are then left with 50 rupees of illiquid securities. So the liquidity has kind of evaporated from these markets. And to protect the investor who would have stayed behind, the fund decided to kind of freeze the schemes, which results in more panic.
True.
Because now people who had put their hard-earned savings into those funds or those schemes were wondering as to whether what will happen now. Is my money safe? Will I get it back? And how long will it take? I have made investments elsewhere. What happens to those investments? Are they safe? Should I take that money out? So it is a long chain or a vicious circle that it becomes.
Sure.
So the other part of the question is what happens now, right? For the fixed income market, these are not normal times. In equity markets, you can sell things on the exchange. It is, a lot more liquid. There is a price at which you can sell, but not in fixed income markets. So it is not a bank deposit that you can say, go to the bank and say, I want premature withdrawal. And that is what everyone is dealing with. Not many people knew there could be a possibility or there is a regulation that allows a scheme to be frozen, right? So this is also for the first time it has happened, but it has happened and there is a regulation that allows that. Now, the only option is for investors who are invested in these schemes to just hold on and see how long it takes for situations to normalize and for the fund to be able to pay. There is very little option unless and until liquidity returns, but we do not know when and how much and how long it takes for investors to recover their money. And many of these were funds which were buying not AAA portfolios, right? So there was always a risk, and the risk has played out. Okay, so that has happened, and let's see how long it takes for the situation to normalize, as I said before.
Thanks, Anshu. So clearly, these were credit risk funds, which is a separate category of fixed income funds altogether, probably on the higher risk side. And it is a vicious circle created out of liquidity and risk averseness. So I am a fixed income investor myself, Anshu. And every month on a email, I get something which is called a fact sheet. It is fairly a technical document. A lot of information is crammed in on those 1.5, 2-page PDF. So what do you make of it? So what are the parts of that PDF that I should rather have a hawk eye on?
Yeah, Ankita, see, I think first of all, till the time the going is good, we don't pay attention.
True.
And my first advice is for investors to start paying attention. It is not as easy as reading a bank statement, right? And, for sake of simplicity, maybe I would just mention 4 or 5 factors that you may want to look at in your fact sheet. I think the first and foremost objective that you're trying to meet is I invested with a certain thought process into a particular fund or a scheme. Does the fund or a scheme match that thought process, right?
Sure.
And first is safety. Number one is safety. So there's something called the rating profile. Okay, if let's say you cannot ever want to afford any risk on principal value, you want the portfolio to be AAA, or better still, you want the portfolio to be government-backed securities, right? So that is the first concern that you have. 2 is liquidity. If I want my money tomorrow, will I be able to access my funds, right? There's usually a premature withdrawal penalty in a bank deposit, but is there an exit load that comes into my scheme? 3, you will look at maturity or the investment tenor. You wanted to invest for 6 months, but this fund holds securities which are 3 years or 7 years. Clearly, there's a mismatch, right? 4th, you will look at the expenses now. Because what are you making net of expenses is that matters to you, and eventually after taxes, right? And maybe 5th and 6th, you will see the consistency of the fund, the returns of the fund. Are they consistent or are they very volatile? Can you live with that volatility, right? And maybe you will, as you become familiar, you will glance through, is the fund deviating ever from the portfolio objectives? So these are just quick 4 or 5 things or factors you may want to see, but do equip yourself with more information on these funds before you enter anyways.
So as calm allocators and as rational investors, we should keep a hawk eye on these parameters, and we should look where we are investing on monthly basis. We know equity markets are driving us with a lot of volatility, and all asset classes have fairly moved up and down in the last 2 months. So interesting times, I think. But as an investor, what is it that I should do now? And how should I keep myself calm and get the right voice?
Right. Ankita, first of all, my advice is not to swing from one extreme to the other, right? So yes, you are concerned as an investor. You want to make sure that you minimize your risk, but at the same time, do not take extreme action. Now, how do you evaluate whether what your objectives were and what your portfolio is? Do they meet? Or is there any big variance from where you expected it to be? I think that's the first and foremost factor that you need to evaluate. For that, please sit down with your financial advisor, open up your portfolio, and maybe write down. If you've not already written down your objectives, write down your objectives and evaluate your portfolio. So do that assessment and see what fits and what doesn't. And what doesn't fit, maybe you will not be able to exit everything today, right? So have a plan. And secondly, if it doesn't fit and you cannot exit, right? What will you do next? What are your options? So put those down and come up with a plan. I would pause here because, beyond it may become complex for this first episode. I'm sure we can share an email where people can ask questions. And thank you so much, Ankita, for this conversation.
Thanks, Anshu. So I think you very rightly pointed out, if you want to be a fox in the world of market hedgehogs, one big thing is to have a plan, is to consistently write down what your objectives are and to question it. Where am I debating and what can I do to be back on the path? I think our FAs have served valuable source of advice in these volatile times. And as calm allocators, we should continue looking at. Going forward, we shall bring you more insights on these topics and we will give you food for thought where we can think further and delve into variety of instruments. So thank you, Anshu, for coming up on the first show and for giving us all the information that we do need in these volatile times. We hope we'll continue this with you going forward.
Thank you, Ankita. This is a fabulous initiative and let's continue with this.
Thanks, Anshu. Thank you.